My mute was on there. Hey guys, welcome to LBB 91 Coaching. We are talking to you guys today about attachment styles and we're talking about boundaries. How does attachment styles influence boundaries? How does your attachment style influence boundaries? That's what we're discussing today. I want to make it very, very clear that we've been doing this for the past few weeks. We've been breaking down attachment styles to help you guys be able to grow in a relationship with yourself and in your relationship with your loved ones as well. So to break it down very clearly, attachment style simply is the emotional bonds between people, how you actually attach in a particular relationship. And that looks like this was actually an experiment done by John Bowlby, a British psychologist. I'm sure you're probably tired of me saying this, but I'm going to say it again. By John Bowlby, who was testing separation anxiety, because that's exactly what it is. Attachment styles are to do with how do you deal with separation anxiety? Are you emotionally regulated? Are you somebody who is sturdy? Are you somebody who avoids their problems? Or are you somebody who leans in too much to their problems, overgiving? Or are you somebody who's able to be stable? Right? So we're going to break it all the way down for you. We're going to give you the 4 attachment styles, which are fearful avoidant, secure, anxious, and dismissive avoidance as well. Oh, someone says it's a little bit choppy. Let me make sure my audio is clear and make sure it's all good as well. If you guys can hear me, let me know you can see me. Make sure it's clear. I don't want it to be choppy just in case. I know I'm having some problems. Make sure. Is it good? Is it still good? Just let me know if I'm still good. If I'm out of bounds, let me know. If it's off, let me know. I just want to make sure. Okay. So if you guys can hear me, you can see me clearly, let me know. I just want to make it clear. Are we good? It keeps going in and out. Okay. I'm just gonna make sure my sound is probably not. Make sure it's not too loud. Okay. So you guys can hear me. I'm probably talking a little bit too loudly. That's why it's going out. So I'm going to reduce the mic there for you guys as well. Okay, cool. So it should be okay. All right. Should be okay now. The sound should flex back in. So let me start that again so we know exactly where we are. We are talking about attachment styles and boundaries. Okay. And it's a series I've been doing for the past few weeks. We're now combining the 2 things, boundaries and attachment styles. And so if you don't know what attachment styles are, it's simply how we attach in relationships, how we create emotional bonds with people. Are you somebody who's able to be secure? You're able to receive love, give love? Are you somebody who struggles with giving love, but maybe you can receive it? Are you somebody who is able to receive the love, but maybe not able to give it as Evie? Or I don't know if I said it the right way. Able to give it, but don't take it. You know what I mean? There's different types of ways that we attach in relationships. And this forms what we call attachment styles. There is secure, there is anxious, preoccupied, there is fearful, avoidant, and there is also dismissive avoidance as well. And in that particular space, what we have is the attachment styles, the way that you, depending on what attachment style you are linked with, this will actually start to play a role in the way that you deal with boundaries. Boundaries simply is where you begin and where you end. Boundaries is simply where you begin and where you end. Are you able to identify where you begin and where you end? Are you able to let people know what works for you, what doesn't work for you? Are you able to let people know what your wants and your needs are? Are you able to say no? Are you able to say this doesn't work for me? Are you able to say this is what I want? Are you able to say like, yeah, I can work with that, but maybe not this particular aspect, right? So that's also very, very much important as well. It's all about making sure that we can combine the two: attachments and boundaries. So I'm not doing this alone as always. I always have a trusted friend. I'm going to keep this nice and short today, under 25 minutes, hopefully, and do this quickly and bring you guys this important information. So I'm going to bring my friend onto the screen. As always, my trusted psychic, as they would say, is my fabulous PowerPoint. Yes, my wonderful, amazing PowerPoint. Okay, so again, just make sure if attachment theory, again, as I said, is an experiment done by John Bowlby, and it's measuring the anxiety and distress produced by separation from the child's primary caregiver. Let's go a bit further on. Okay, so again, boundaries. Again, I said it's vital for emotional safety, but the way that someone approaches them is deeply shaped by their attachment style. Some fear enforcing them, others use them to push people away, and secure people use them to foster healthy relationships and intimacy. You must understand that your attachment style is actually influential in the way that you establish these boundaries. Okay, so I'm going to deal first and foremost with. There are actually 8 types, and I put 7. There's actually 8 types of boundaries. There is emotional, there is physical, there is digital, there is spiritual, there is sexual, there is financial, there is mental, and there is relational. Okay, so we're going to break them all the way down, and I'm going to break them down with also the particular attachment styles that's attached to it. If you can't see it, I do apologize. I hope I've made it big enough for you guys for you to see it. So just type in the chat if you can see the graphics on the screen. I will speak through it, but just make sure you guys can see it as well, and make sure you guys are able to receive it. So, emotional boundaries simply is about protecting your feelings, your emotional space, and the right to process without guilt. One of the major things about boundaries is people can't say no or be able to do things without feeling like they're feeling guilty or feeling like they're being judged. Now, this comes down to emotional safety. Emotional safety is the ability to express your thoughts and be able to express your feelings without judgment, punishment, without there being harm. Okay, so emotional safety is your ability to express your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas without there being a consequence of punishment, judgment, or criticism, or harsh criticism in a sense. Okay, that's emotional safety. And oftentimes, your emotional safety is with yourself first. Are you somebody that's critical with your own emotions? Are you very critical with your own thoughts? Are you critical with your own ideas, right? And that's actually where you have to start from. Before we start with other people, we must start with ourselves. Okay. So, again, emotional boundaries is about protecting your feelings, your emotional space, and your right to process without guilt. So, let's start off with that. Secure people, okay, express their feelings clearly and respectfully, right? They might tell you, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can we talk about this tomorrow? So you can see straight away that secure people actually will let you know what they feel emotionally. They'll tell you, look, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can we talk about this tomorrow? They're respecting their own need, they're respecting their own feelings, but at the same time letting you know where they stand. Anxious people will tell you they will overshare, okay, and quickly absorb others' emotions. We notice about anxious people, they over identify with other people's emotions. And that robs them of the opportunity of being able to share what their boundaries are on emotional boundaries. So they might say something like, I just need to know how you feel right now. I can't stop thinking about it. So rather than saying what they feel, they'll ask you what your feelings are. Again, over giving and not being able to receive. Avoidance, dismissives, detach or shut down emotionally. And so they'll say, can we not talk about this right now? It's not a big deal anyway. Okay, this is important. And then for fearful avoidance, they are hot, cold expression, a fear of vulnerability. And what that means is they want to talk, but if they open up, they're afraid they'll get hurt and they'll say, never mind, right? They'll be like, you know what, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal anyway. They'll downplay their own need to express their own emotions in a scenario or their own boundaries. Okay. And oftentimes that's because they're afraid they'll be punished or hurt for expressing their viewpoint. Dismissives don't believe that their needs will even be met, so they can't be bothered to be able to talk about the emotional aspects. Let's go into part two. Physical boundaries are about your body, your personal space, and your physical safety. Okay. And so in this space, secure people communicate their needs confidentially. Confidently. Coach, what kind of English is that? Let's leave that alone. Okay, so they will say to you, I'm not comfortable hugging, a wave is fine. Now I don't know about you guys. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been afraid or you found it difficult to initiate your physical boundaries, especially ladies as well. You're working in an office and it can be difficult because sometimes maybe there's a colleague who maybe touches you on the shoulder and you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to make a big deal of this, but I don't feel comfortable with him touching me on the shoulder. That can be very difficult for a lot of people, right? Or they want to hug you, but you're not comfortable with a hug. You should be you're allowed to say, I'm not comfortable with hugging you. A wave is fine. You're still offering a solution, by the way. You're saying, hey, a hug is not. I'm not comfortable with a hug, but a wave is fine. We don't need to we don't need to go deep into explanation as to what your boundaries are. That's simply it. For anxious people, they will say yes to touch even when they're uncomfortable, and this is what creates a lot of problems in relationships because people are agreeing to things that they're going to feel resentful about later on, right? When they could be saying, I didn't want that hug, but I didn't want to seem rude, right? That's the truth. I didn't want that hug, but I didn't want to seem rude. But now for next time, you have to speak up and say, hey, I didn't want that hug. We have to look at the secure person and go, this is what I need to model my response on. I didn't want that hug. Okay, a wave is fine, or a handshake is fine for me. Okay, the avoidant people, dismiss avoidance. They avoid physical closeness and use touch sparingly. I know that for me personally, I didn't like people touching me, hugging me, being on me. I used to hate that kind of stuff, man. If I haven't initiated it, don't do it. And they'll just say, I just need my space right now. Okay, all right, I just need my space right now. That's what they're going to say. And then fearful avoidance, they crave closeness but gets tense with it. Okay, so they want it, but they can get. I like to even say they get overwhelmed. So they want you to hug them, be close to them. But then it gets to points where they get overwhelmed. And instead of actually really kind of saying that, sometimes they suffer in the silence, or what they do is they start avoiding you in future, right? They start avoiding that situation. So they might not avoid you, but they avoid a situation that leads up to that. So let's say, for instance, hugging, or let's say you guys cuddle on a couch. Now they know that the couch is associated with cuddling. They're like, I guess I ain't gonna be on that couch no more, right? And so instead of actually tackling the main issue, which is they don't want to cuddle, right? Because they don't know how, and I describe it as a car without brakes, because they don't know how to apply the brakes, they just rather not just be in the car at all. You know what I'm saying too? And so that's for them. Their fear is that they don't know how to even say it. So why bother even starting? Let's just kill it up from the beginning. And then avoidance are afraid of being trapped. They're afraid of you kind of being in their space and not being able to tell you that they don't want it no more. So they just kind of want to avoid that too. Anxious people, again, don't want to be the mean people. So that's what they end up saying, those kind of things. Okay, digital boundaries. I think this is one of the most, and I'm definitely going to do a whole live about this because I think this is really important. Digital boundaries are probably the biggest thing I think around the relationships that I know. And I'll tell you why. Because digital boundaries are something that our generation is suffering with. Some of y'all have got bad digital boundaries. Okay? Bad digital boundaries. Secure people. Okay? The digital boundaries is your time, your attention, access to you online. So how much can people reach you online? Are you too accessible? Now I talk about this. There's devil apps called Instagram and Snapchat. Okay, y'all know there's some devil apps. Okay, and the reason why is because some of y'all treat those apps completely different to how you would treat your phone number. You allow people to message you at 2 a.m. and you would never give out your phone number. They can't text you at 2 a.m., but they can message you on Instagram at 2 a.m. Right? I'm just saying. Anyway, so secure people, all right, they communicate clearly about phone use and availability. All right. They'll tell you, I don't check messages after 9 p.m., but I will respond in the morning. Now, I can't lie to you, I need to work on some of my responses because sometimes I just leave people on air. It'd be a lot and be overwhelming, but I need to work on that and be better. Okay. Anxious people obsessively check texts, need quick responses. You didn't reply for 2 hours. Are we okay? They start feeling like the separation anxiety because you didn't respond straight away. There must be something wrong, something going on. The avoidant. The avoidant person ignores text. This is me. This is me. I need to work on this. Ignores text or disappears online for long stretches. Leaves on read for 3 days and then acts like nothing happened. That is absolutely me. I need to work on that. If you're nodding your head saying that is me, I am sorry. Okay. And it's probably not 3 days, it's probably 3 weeks, but don't discuss that again. Fearful avoidance, send mixed signals, quick replies one day and then ghost the next. Sorry, I vanished. I need a space, but I didn't want you to think I don't care. And so fearful avoidance again and dismissive avoidance do something very, very selfish. And this is me included. We do selfish things. We don't communicate. We just take space. I want to be very, very clear. This is not conducive to a healthy relationship. If you are somebody and you're in a relationship and somebody messages you and you take 3 to 4 days to reply back to them, and because you needed your space and you've never communicated that with your partner, you are causing your issues in this relationship. You are a problem. You need to work on it immediately. I'm not here to therapize you. Start working on it straight away. Okay? Learn how to communicate. Stop babying yourself and coddling yourself. And this is me talking to me, by the way, as well. Stop coddling yourself. It's just not acceptable in a relationship. You know what I'm saying too? All right? You should be able to communicate that to the partner. Leaving them on read is crazy for 3 days. Crazy stuff. All right? And if you're an anxious person, slow down. Okay? Slow down. If they haven't taken a day or two and it hasn't been established that they've done these things, calm yourself down. Regulate yourself. Go and do something. Touch grass, as they would say, right? Fearful avoidance too, okay? Disappearing for days on end, and then being like, I didn't want you to think that you didn't care. They're not going to think that you care if you disappear for days on end, okay? This is not acceptable, okay? Something that we should not be doing at all. I have no mercy for myself and for those who do those kind of things. If you're in a relationship, it is not conducive at all, okay? Spiritual boundaries. Okay, so spiritual boundaries. Protect your beliefs, values, and spiritual space, okay? Secure people will respect differences without fear. They're able to say, you can have your religion, I can have mine, and I feel no way about it. Okay. We have different beliefs, but I still value our connection. All right. Now, first and foremost, we may have different beliefs, but we ain't going to be in a relationship. So it's going to be on to that. Anxious people adopt others' beliefs to feel accepted. So instead of the anxious person being real about what they actually believe, they're going to accept yours. Do you see what they're over identifying again? I started going to that church because they invited me. I didn't want to say no. How many people are in church in certain churches that didn't want to be in certain? I don't know why they use an example of churches, but hey, you went somewhere you didn't want to go, right? It's okay to say no. Avoidance. Keep spiritual beliefs private or disconnected. I don't really talk about God. That's personal. Now, that's not me personally. Go and take this down. I can respect your fear. I'm probably more secure in this area. You know what I mean? But I see it. Don't really want to talk about God. That's personal. I can see that. Fearful avoidance. Torn between seeking God and fearing rejection from others. Okay. So they want to grow spiritually, but what if I'm not good enough for God? And this is a major thing because, again, them not feeling good enough about God is also them not feeling good about themselves in relationships. And therefore, there's an overlap. And usually it's because of that a lack of esteem because of what they experienced as a child as well. Okay. Number 5, sexual boundaries. Your comfort, consent, desires, and limits regarding intimacy. The secure person communicates openly about desires and limits. And their conversational example is, I'm comfortable going slow. Let's talk about what feels safe for both of us. You really need to talk them through it, okay? Secure people are talking people through it. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean. All right? Don't be afraid to talk her through it. Don't be afraid to talk him through it. Don't be afraid to say, this is the kind of position I like. Don't be afraid to say, listen, put your hands here. The lady's favorite one, and I'm saying this with all respect. The favorite one is don't move. You know what I'm talking about, fellas. Don't move. Stay there. Okay. It's secure communication. It's letting the person know what you want and what you desire. It's okay to say, I like this position or I don't like this position. No, I don't like being touched there. These are sexual boundaries. Okay. Your comfort, consent, desires, and limits regarding intimacy. Okay. All right. It's okay to say no. All right. Anxious people say yes to avoid abandonment or appear good enough. Okay. I wasn't ready, but I didn't want to lose them. Okay. So, sometimes you're doing things and this is where you have to be accountable. You have to speak up because no one can speak up for you. So if you know that you're not comfortable, this wasn't ready for you, speak up. It's okay to say what you say. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, don't identify their feelings. Don't go like, oh, because they wanted it, I wanted it too. No, do you want it? If you don't want it, you don't have to. It's not today. Okay. Dismissive avoidance: detach emotionally during sex and avoid intimacy. Let's not talk about feelings. We're just having fun, right? Now, this is what, if you guys know my story, I was in Egypt for a very long time. Yeah, this is me. I mean, I talked about feelings, but I intellectualized feelings. That's what I was doing. And a lot of people who are dismissive avoidance will do this. They sound like they're emotional, but it's because they're intellectualizing emotions. That's very different. When you intellectualize emotions, you are basically being an academic of the emotions, right? You're not actually going through the emotions. You're not actually really deeping the emotions. You've become a doctorate. You've become a tutor of the emotions. You're not actually sitting in those emotions and really understanding what messages they're giving you. Okay. Fearful avoidance. Well, sexual push and pull, wants closeness but fears vulnerability. I want to connect, but afterward, I always feel exposed and shut down. And sometimes what can happen to a fearful avoidant is that there's what we call overexposure of vulnerability. So sometimes sex can become one of those things that it's overexposure of vulnerability. There's a level of, the Bible says he entered her, he knew her. There is a knowing that comes from sex. So that becomes a level of vulnerability. So for fearful avoidance, this can be a very vulnerable thing to want to engage in sex. And sometimes they can go the opposite way, which is they use sex as a way of connecting, just like dismissive avoidance can do, rather than actually connecting emotionally, right? And so that can be something that the avoidance tend to do, is that they can be very sexualized because they don't want to deal with the emotional intimacy. It requires work, it requires patience, it requires time, it requires them to actually start to listen, it requires them to actually start to speak. And that can be very difficult for the avoidant in that space. But remember, your consent, your comfort, your desires, and your limits regarding intimacy, you are allowed to say no. You don't have to do this. Okay. Number 6, financial boundaries. Protect your money, your resources, and giving, receiving habits. Now, some of you know that some of you are bad people when it comes to finances. Okay. You are an overgiver, and there's nothing to be celebrated about overgiving. I'm telling you this now, there is nothing to celebrate when you are an overgiver, because you are overgiving to a point where you might end up not paying your bills and someone else has to cover you, or you end up giving to a point where you're now angry. The Bible says he loves a cheerful giver. You're not going to be cheerful if you're over given to a place where you now don't have enough resources or funds. Okay, there's nothing to be celebrated when you're over giving. I'm just going to be real with you. All right. Like, don't take the story of the woman that gave the 2 last mites. Don't take the story of Elijah and the oils. Don't take those stories and make it your story. Okay, all right. In those situations, there were God given instructions. These ones for you, I mean, the one with the 2 mites is slightly different. She was broke, so it wasn't God given instruction, but the Elijah one was. So sometimes people overgive and then end up becoming a borrower rather than a lender. What's the point? Okay, so secure people share responsibly, discusses limits honestly. I love to help, but I have a budget I need to stick to. Some of you need to employ this particular line right here. Your uncles and your aunties have been asking you for money for decades. Your mothers and your fathers have been asking you money for decades. Your brothers and sisters got no financial restraint. They've been asking you money for decades. Some of you got friends who've been asking for decades. Some of you have been given to charities over decades. Some of you have been given to churches. That's another one. Some of you have been given to churches and overgiven. You don't want to give anymore. This is a great thing. I love to help, but I have a budget I need to stick to. Okay. I love to help, but there's a budget I need to stick to. Okay. Anxious people, overgivers, feel the need to be loved. I paid for everything again because I didn't want them to think I'm stingy. Now, I can't lie to you. You can get me with this one. I can't lie to you. I don't. That's a big one. I don't like embarrassment. Sometimes it catches me out. I'll pay because I don't want to be embarrassed, but the principle has been broken. But what I will do is that next time I'm not seeing you. Yeah, I don't like people. I don't like people taking advantage of my boundaries. Although a couple of times, especially in Ghana, I've let people know. Listen, you took advantage of my boundary. I don't like that. You know what I mean? I'm learning to be more secure. Um, yeah. So avoidance in that area when it comes to financial boundaries. Again, it's your money, your resources, giving, receiving habits. Avoids discussing finances. May keep total independence. I'd rather we keep our money separate. I don't want to talk about it. All right. So dismissive avoidance tend to again not want to co-regulate, which is emotional, but then they don't tend to want to co-work together when it comes to finances, because again, they don't want the responsibility that if you are wrong or you got bad money management, you're going to pull them down. They don't want that. They don't want anybody else to have control of their destiny. So if I now join my finances with you and you got bad spending habits, you are going to take us down. And I can't do anything about it so I can't do anything about it. So I'd rather just not enter that space at all. Therefore, you can't let me down, you can't take us down, and I can't be afraid of not having a security in my finances. Okay, fearful avoidance are conflicted, gives generously but resents it later. And this is my biggest thing about it. Like I'm saying to you, a lot of churches take advantage of people that are fearful, avoidant, and anxious because those two subsets are easily manipulated. No offense, y'all. You're easily manipulated because your anxious side is telling you, "I need to earn love. I need to show that I'm needed. I need to prove that I'm wanted." And so, what ends up happening, especially in churches, no offense, but every offense, a lot of churches don't realize they know who they're aiming at, and they will aim certain things at you, and you will push yourself to try and give to a point where you're bleeding at the fingers and the toes. Okay, all right. And if you're going to give and feel resentful, it's not a cheerful give. Yeah, you like you said, I helped them out, but now I feel used and I don't know how to bring it up. Mm, okay. Number seven, mental boundaries. This protects your thoughts, opinions, and intellectual space. Okay, all right. So, secure people respect disagreement and differing ideas. They're able to be okay with you having a different thought. It's okay. It doesn't challenge. It doesn't make them feel unsafe. Okay. And then another thing is, I disagree, but I understand where you're coming from. So being able to disagree, but knowing where the person's coming from. Oh, sorry, being able to disagree, but also being able to understand that people have a different viewpoint from where they're coming from. I'm able to respect that, right? Two people, we get online sometimes, and people are like, my way is only right. I'm the only way that's right. Okay, cool. That's not a secure person. All right, an anxious person adapts views to avoid conflict. If you are adapting your views to avoid conflict, you're gonna have more conflict later on. Okay, they might say like, "I guess I was wrong. You're probably right." Right, and you know these people because they give in so easily, and when they give in that space, they're not actually being honest, they're not being true, and they're going to resent it later on. Avoiding people keep thoughts to themselves to avoid dialogue, because again, avoiding people are afraid of conflict because they're afraid of being rejected in the end. So if they tell their true story, they'll be rejected, so they rather just avoid it. Whatever, I don't want to argue. And I've done this a lot of times where it's not even just I don't want to argue, I'm numb. And I don't even I realize I'm numb, but I realize too late. Like I'm really numb. I'm like, oh, it didn't affect me, but it did affect me. I just didn't want to argue because I was, I just didn't want. I didn't think my needs were going to get met. I didn't think that by me complaining it would change. So that's again a childhood wound. Fearful avoidance are torn between sharing and fearing judgment. I wanted to say something, but I felt like I'd be attacked, so I stayed quiet. It's major. Fearful of ones are afraid of speaking up because what will happen is if they do speak up, they'll be punished. There's no emotional safety. Okay? There's no emotional safety. Relational boundaries, time, energy, access, and expectations in relationships. Okay? Relational boundaries. A secure person has clear standards, balance, give, and taking. They are able to give as well as take. But I said there's emotional availability. They're able to give and they're able to take. Okay, it's what makes them secure people. I care about you, but I also need friendships that are mutual. They will not kill off the people around them just so that you feel better about yourself because they understand that those friendships are critical to them being able to live a healthy relational lifestyle. The anxious person overcommits and over prioritizes. They are people who are always doing the most first, right? Always reaching out, always going after you. Arguments happen, they're the first one to reach out, they're the first one to do this, first one to do that. And a lot of times it's not because they want to be the first, like they're just caring about the relationship, but rather because they're afraid of being abandoned. They're afraid of separation. Okay. So be like, they never text me first, but I keep checking in just in case. So they don't text first, but you keep checking in. You're not giving them time to be able to even check in because you're consistently afraid of them separating from you. You know what I'm saying too? So every time you close a gap, that's not going to help your situation. An anxious person, that's an anxious person. And then an avoidant person, okay, keeps people at distance to protect themselves. I'm not looking for anything deep. Let's keep it casual. So that's how a lot of avoidance, dismissive avoidance, end up in what I call situationship, because situationships have no boundaries and are low entry relationships. Okay, there are no boundaries, quote unquote, to say there are no expectations and there are no people like saying, hey, This is what it actually is. And so there's actually this lack of fear for the dismissive avoidant. That's why they love a situationship. They can come and go whenever they want. And you can like, hey, I never committed. Because one of the fears of a dismissive avoidant is being trapped. Okay? Now, fearful avoidants crave closeness, but fear betrayal. So they're push-pull dynamic. Okay? I want them, but then I get scared and create distance again. So they want you, but then they create distance once more again, because again, they're afraid of being hurt, judged, or they're afraid also of being taken advantage of as well. So that's why they do that. Now, next week, I will deep into into the healing of that. I wanted to keep my time that I said I was going to keep, but I want to let you know. Listen, if you're somebody who is, seeking to learn more about attachments, and you want to be able to break down your attachment and be able to understand how this is affecting you in your day-to-day relationships, then this is going to be a great time to reach out to myself, book yourself in, and let's see how we can begin to work to change that narrative. You do not have to stay there. We are going to get you to secure, because reason being is because secure place, you're in a more healthy style relationship. You're in a better place mentally and a better place emotionally. And so we want to be able to build you up and be able to take you to that next level. So if you're ready for transformation, growth, and healing in 2025, then it's going to be a great time to reach out to myself. But if not, enjoy these videos, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you grow, transform, and heal at every given step. And so I hope you've loved part 1 of this conversation, or I guess part 2, because part 3 is next week, where we've spoken about attachments and boundaries. I will be on later on TikTok as well, giving a talk about this. It's usually a much longer version on TikTok, just because we have a lot more time. And the audience is slightly different, and we talk about obviously a lot more as well in depth. So if you want to know more, then come onto TikTok. I always invite people to also get a little bit of a free coaching session as well. So if you're looking to get a free coaching session, maybe you can't afford the full one, come on TikTok. Hopefully we'll be able to get you up on there, and you can share your thoughts, and we can begin to start healing with you as well, guys. Okay, so make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you. This is LBB 91 Coaching. We'll see you again very soon. Love and peace.
Deeper.
Oh.